This episode of Legendary is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Legendary, episode 122. Oh, man. Feeling kind of... Hang on a second. Sinuses. Coming up tonight on the show, more PvP changes coming in 5.3. We've got some more details on heroic scenarios, and finally we have our world first level 90 character. Wait, what? I don't know what the hell's going on. All that and more, but first, weekly Marmot PST Rapid Fire, and after dark, it's Josh Allen, aka Lore. What's up, sir?
Hello!
How are you, sir?
I am doing excellent. How are you?
I'm really good now that I've cleared up my sinus infection. And from WoW Insider and Gamebreaker contributing editor, it's Olivia Grace. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Now that I've cleared up my sinus infection. All right, first up this week. This is just plain effing bizarre. All right, so I don't know if you guys remember, but if you guys remember way back, remember FS? He was the world first level 90 that got rolled back to level 87, and he was suspended for cheating. Do you guys remember? It's okay if you don't. It was like 7 months ago. It was freaking eons ago. But basically out of nowhere, yesterday, Veneris just posted on the European forums with this. After some lengthy deliberation on this topic and evaluation of all facts, we've decided to overturn our decision on this matter. We will be reinstating FS's achievements. Our apologies to FS for any frustration this has caused. Seriously? It's been 6 months and 23 days since FS was actually suspended and rolled back to 87. Now, 6 months and 23 days later, did they find like some videotape or something? What did they Now they've decided to reinstate everything?
Apparently, yeah, it's just well, we got over it. We've decided that, you know what, maybe it was legit.
Do you think that's it?
Yeah.
Do you think this does this confirm that it was legit? I don't even know if it does.
Well,
like,
I mean,
wouldn't they have come out and said that, maybe like with some explanation that, hey, we screwed up?
We
it's
totally
just after
thought
deliberation.
that yeah. Yeah, like what are you deliberating on for 7 months? What took conversation takes that long?
What was that? I mean, yeah, because it's just like it's.
Did they put together like the 9/11 commission or something? Like what? Like the FS
they got
commission.
To the G8 summit. They took it to the G8 and then on to the G10.
Yeah, there's a book about
NASA.
Yeah, they consulted NASA. That's who pulled it in, didn't it? They found the information on Mars, and now
the O.J. Simpson trial didn't take 7 months. Why is FS? Why is this guy's trial take that long?
It's just like, it's utterly bizarre. And I don't know whether it really gives any sort of notion of legitimacy to it or what, really, because, I mean, the fact that they gave the achievements back kind of implies that it was okay what he did. But then on the other hand, why did it take so long? I mean, I just don't get it. Because they always said that they weren't actually exploiting anything. They weren't actually cheating as such when they spoke to various people online. But there's no detail out there. There's no there's no reason given at all why it's taken so long. It's literally just like, oh, we gave him them back. Congrats, by the way.
And that's the other thing is like, why even after 7 months? I don't know. Why say anything and bring this back up and resurrect this from like the dead and draw any attention to it? It's just plain odd. It's fine. Do you think they just they don't want bad karma? They just feel bad. They're like, damn, we screwed up.
I almost wonder if they were kind of worried that FS would come out and be like someone would notice that the Realm First achievement would come back or something, or FS would come and be like, oh, they gave it back, and they wanted to like have control of it or something. But if you're gonna damage control this is not damage control. This is damage creation.
Yeah, this is just inviting additional speculation as to just what exactly the heck went on.
Yeah, because now we're just gonna speculate that Blizzard kind of totally wrongfully banned him and suspended his account.
I mean, it was dead in the water. Like this wasn't even a thing until all of a sudden, pops the post on the Blues, and it's just like, what?
Yeah, like, I totally forgot there even was a level 90 World First drama until this came up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I guess that was a thing.
What's with your Liv? What's your take? Do you think that this in your mind does this confirm that there was no exploiting and should have never?
My sort of knee-jerk reaction is yes, it kind of does. I mean, if they only suspended him, it wasn't like a perma ban or anything, but he didn't come back. But there was no need for them nearly 7 months down the line to come back and actually give him the achievements back. Like, by doing that, to me that kind of says, yeah, we're sorry, we messed up. Here's your stuff that you should have had all along because we derped and thought you were cheating. That's kind of what it says to me.
I almost wonder if it was something like there was some particular about what he did that they were debating on whether or not it was actually an exploit or not. But even then, it shouldn't take 7 months to figure that out.
No, it's
how long of a deliberation could that be? Like, you get in a room, you ask like 3-4 people, they make a decision. They've been talking about this for 7 months. They're just like coming in the morning, like having coffee at the water cooler. They're like, hey, Joe, what do you think? I don't know. I can't make a decision on this FS guy. He's kind of blown our minds. Like, we don't really know. He did something, but we really didn't expect it. I don't know. Do you think he's guilty? I can't decide. I don't know. Let's go to lunch.
Hold on. Let us send a package via freight over to the United States with some paperwork outlining these issues so that the developers there can look at it and then send it back via freight yet again.
Do we even know if FS is playing anymore? The character literally has done nothing since it's been suspended. Did he just quit?
He certainly hasn't been playing the Druid. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it certainly hasn't been playing it at all. It's goodness knows. I mean, it's a complete mystery as to what actually happened. Like, is he even aware? Does he actually like? Does he actually read gaming? Has he just gone? No, I'm done. I'm done with WoW. I'm not reading any WoW sites. I'm retiring.
Yeah,
it's cancelled his account, and all of a sudden he's all over the news.
Well, that would be the extra like just super derp thing about it. He has to still be playing in some capacity. Otherwise, Blizzard definitely would not have said anything. Like,
yeah, I guess.
Because if they're gonna reinstate his World First level 90 thing on an account that they've apparently been paying really close attention to because they've been analyzing it for 7 months. Somehow in the midst of that, they happen to not notice that it's been frozen for 6 of those, and so he's not even going to tell anybody about it? No, he's got to still be playing in some capacity.
Yeah, in some way, shape, because he was guild master as well, and he had his whole guild helping him out. Is that something that you just like, right, drop the microphone, I'm done, like, get out of here, bye.
I can see a lot of people rage. I can see a lot of people rage quitting for a suspension that was not, was not
unfair.
Completely unfair. I could see people rage quitting for that. All right, I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
Odd story. Well, all right. If you thought that was going to be the craziest thing that we'd actually talk about this week, nope. There's more. All right. So there's been a few PvP changes hitting the 5.3 PTR over the past few days, and one of them is completely out of left field. So on the recent builds, it added a debuff that causes flag carriers to take extra damage in rated battlegrounds. Nothing crazy about that by itself, but here's the kicker. If you're a tanking spec, it's a 50% debuff. But if not, guess what? Only 20% debuff. Yay for you. So it was later clarified that there's already a similar effect that causes all flag carriers to take 25% extra damage, and that replaces that. This replaces that, I should say. But Still, that's 25% more for tanks and actually 5% less for non-tanks. What the hell is going on here? They just like tanks, you should not be flag carriers. We do not want you to be flag carriers. Stop it right now. This is
not your thing.
Is that
Fixed
really
an
what this
issue
is?
where sometimes the flag carrier did not die. Yeah.
Very quickly.
I don't know. Like that's Olivia could probably extrapolate a lot more on this, but to me it just seems like they're saying, nah, you know, we just don't really want flag carriers to. We don't want tanks to be quite so good at carrying the flag anymore.
Yeah, we don't want tanks to be quite so good at tanking stuff. I mean, we think that tanks tanking is a bit of an issue that we'd like to address. I mean, there's definitely, I think it's not so much a matter of they're trying to get rid of tank flag carriers, and actually someone, as you'd expect, tweeted to Brian Helinka saying, oh, so are you just trying to completely, like, disable tanks in rated battlegrounds? He said, no, if we were doing that, we'd give them a plus 1,000% damage debuff. And it's like, yeah, fair point.
I want to see that debuff.
Yeah, I want to see that debuff like one shot a paladin through a bubble. But it's a bit. I think that what they're trying to do is actually to even out the sort of flag carrying prowess of different classes. So it's no longer the case that you really, really ought to have a tank to carry the flag. You're fine now to have a DPS class or maybe even a healer to carry the flag, rather than it just being tanks all the way. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of a funny one. I don't think any of us saw this coming.
It's already debatable how useful tanks are outside of flag carrying and rated BGs. So I mean, like if this actually does go through and go live, I mean, will anyone play a tank at all anymore?
Well, that's kind of the question, because if it's supposed to make other non-tanks as good or close to as good at carrying the flag, like you'll just have a warlock do it, or a rogue, or whoever. You'll have somebody else who's now equally as survivable carry the flag instead, who can also do things like kill the other team.
Yeah, exactly.
You will have someone who can do the flag carrying plus something else in the event that they're not carrying the flag for a second. I mean, maybe it'll make it to where you don't have like one specific flag carrier anymore, and that could be kind of cool, I guess. Like maybe you say, oh, the rogue will pick it up this time and he'll pass it off to the warrior and then sneak back over for the regrab or something like that. But still, it's like, why play a tank? Why? What purpose does that serve?
I think there's definitely there's still an argument to play a tank. I mean, they do still have, like, your cooldowns are still defensive. So that's something, I guess. Like, you still have defensive cooldowns, you still have defensive stats. And it's going to be, they're definitely admitting freely that it's going to take a little bit of mathsing to work it out whether they've got the debuff level quite right just yet. So, I mean, the numbers aren't set in stone, but there doesn't seem to be any debate around the fact that there will be this debuff coming in. It's just a matter of whether, if they find that tanks are too squishy with the debuff, they'll probably just notch it back a little.
I think there's a possibility that they're like possibly going to do something with tanks that we don't really know, like make them more useful in some other way that we're not really aware of yet.
Other than fulfilling their primary purpose as a specialization by tanking. I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll amp up damage from tanks. I mean,
well, tank damage is a tough one to balance out, because it's either enough to kill somebody or not enough to kill somebody. And if it's enough to kill somebody plus very hard to kill themselves, then it becomes overpowered.
Yeah.
If it's not enough to kill somebody, then you don't care, and you could do 0 damage and it would have no effect on anything. Yeah. I don't know, I was theorizing around a lot of different stuff in the Weekly Marmot that I posted earlier today, just sort of like, okay, what, not from a specific sense looking at the individual like balance issues with World of Warcraft PvP right now, but from a broader sense of how can we even make tanks work in PvP. And there's stuff they can do, but it's like it'd be really, really involved. So I'm kind of wondering, like, if it really is, are they just going to say, just don't bring tanks to PvP anymore, just use anything else? Like, and honestly, I would be okay with that. Like, if they're literally going to sit down and say, we can't find a good way to fit tanks into rated battlegrounds, so instead of having you guys just sort of be
weird. That seems
right,
so
but
odd.
if it's
just this statement in general just seems so freaking bizarre. Hey, we've seen no need for tanks to just get rid of them. Like, there's no place for you. Sorry, you like playing a tank. There's no place for you. Sorry, just go.
This is not your thing.
The problem is right now tanks are mandatory for flag carrying and kind of debatable for anything else. Like,
Yeah.
people will say, oh, you can use them for defense on like a flag node or something like that. But even then, or like a control node or something like that. But even then, in an RPG, they tend to not be that meaningful because, well, people are just more organized. It's not something that you can really get away with anymore. So it's like, if we can't figure out how to make tanks good in all of the battlegrounds instead of just having them only be good in Warsong Gulch and Twin Peaks, then maybe the better choice is just don't have tanks in PvP instead of having people in there who are going to hate that they're there because they suck at whatever it is they're trying to do. Like,
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying every time you say it, I just grin and laugh because I'm just like, it sounds so silly. Like, hey,
right, yeah.
Just get rid of tanks. That's it. Just no place for you. Again, it seems so weird.
I mean, I certainly know a ton of people who'd be really happy that they were getting rid of tanks because there is a lot. Like, you get a tank and some organized healers, and that dude is pretty unkillable, and it is insanely frustrating as well. It's just like, oh my god, die already, for God's sake. But I think,
it's certainly.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying with the sort of trade-off thing. I mean, the trade-off for tanks in PvP has always been we do less damage, we take less damage. So if you're taking away the we take less damage, then I feel like we should get something back rather than just a sort of, okay, thanks, bye. Glad you and hope you enjoyed the last X years of rated battlegrounds.
Yeah, and certainly the survivability that tanks have in PvP has caused issues in the past. I mean, if you look at the current debuffs that we have, I'm not talking about the 25% one that apparently exists that nobody knew about, but like the one that ramps up on the flag carrier, that exists because tanks don't die in PvP. Like, they just don't in rated battlegrounds. If you can get in and like pick them away from one of their healers early on and get the kill while they're trying to bring it back, then great. But otherwise, they're going to sit in their base, they're going to heal themselves like crazy, and you're going to have to wait until there's like 7 or 8 stacks of that debuff before you even have a shot of taking them down. And it's just really, really frustrating when that actually happens. So that's another way where I can kind of look at this and go, maybe PvP is just better if we don't have tanks in there. Maybe it just works better that way.
You keep saying that, I just keep laughing at it.
What next, Josh Allen? What next? No tanks in PvE?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Just
We're
get rid of them
there.
Do you think is there any connection between this and the fact that PvP gear, like with the removal of resilience, and people are all concerned that they're just going to wear PvE gear instead of PvP gear at this point? Do you think this is a response to that? Is there any connection there?
I'm gonna say definitely not from my perspective. I mean, it's because it's a flat damage nerf. It's a flat damage taken increase. Excuse me. You kind of knew what I mean. So it's not going to make a blind bit of difference whether that tank is wearing PvP gear or PvE gear. They might gem into some resilience and that'll help. They don't get any benefit from the PvP gear. If anything, this actually could make PvE gear more powerful for tanks because of set bonuses and procs off of set bonuses, procs off of trinkets, which are PvE specific, but could have some, depending on what exactly the proc is, could have some PvP application. So no, I'm going to sort of say a pretty hearty no. I don't think that that's what it's for.
Yeah. One little quick thing I want to interject with, because I've seen a few people quoting this in the chat room. Brian Hilinka on his Twitter said, I still think tanks will make the best flag carriers, they just won't be as good as before. That's almost irrelevant. Like, whether or not they're as... If a non-tank is almost as good as a tank for carrying the flag, like if a rogue or a warlock or something is almost as good as a tank, and also has that ridiculous damage output to the point that they can defend themselves a lot better, that's still going to be a better flag carrier. Or like a healer or something, like what's a stereotypically hard to, like a Disciplined Priest or a Resto Shaman or something, somebody who's tough to kill and can also heal, and also heal the people around them in the cases where they're not carrying the flag for a second. You're going to want that other person instead because they're more versatile and more useful overall. You're going to be more successful with that. Which basically just means that unless tanks are mandatory the best flag, like, there's 2 ways it can go. Either tanks are still the best flag carriers, so everybody still uses them, so nothing changes, or tanks are no longer the best all-around flag carriers, so people use other things, so it doesn't matter what the difference is between the two. Like, there's a binary binary ending here.
There's either option A or option B. There is no D, all of the above. That's it. It's either game over or it's just the same as before.
Next week, only healers allowed in. That's it. That's it. Only. Everything else is out of the game. I think chat room is voting to get rid of gnomes as well in next patch. That's coming soon.
Reasonable.
Who's going to carry flags then? If tanks aren't going to be the flag carrier, who does this? And this opens up more options. Are there still going to be like 2 or 3 specs that kind of are better than everyone else, or is it? You think it's really going to be kind of like a balanced mix of different?
It's going to be classes with excellent mobility, self heals, and sort of protection. Warlocks are a great choice. Actually, I mean, I've been talking to the warlocks. I don't actually I haven't played a warlock yet in Mr. Pandaria in sort of proper PvP. So I've been trying to establish whether you can go through the demonic gateway with the flag. And 2 people have told me yes, and 2 people have told me no. So, but nonetheless, the portal, you've got your moving while casting thing, which Josh will remember the name of, which I don't. You've got the other bubble thing with all the snakes. What are these things called, Josh? Yes, let's call it that. Yeah, they've got good survivability. They've got decent mobility, or it'll be things like feral druids. I mean, which they were always a popular choice of flag carriers anyway. Stuff that can get away at high speed. Rogues, again, rogues will be good.
To clarify, I believe the demonic gateway, the one that you can drop on the ground, does not work with the flag. I think that makes you drop it. But demonic circle, which is the portal, blink thing, that does work. And as soon as I started thinking about this, I was like, oh my god, I will be the most ultimate troll flag carrier ever. As a destruction warlocks don't die. We don't. It doesn't happen. We do not. There is not an outcome that ends with, and then the destruction warlock died. No one has ever told that story. Like, I can spec. I probably wouldn't spec Kill Jaden's Cunning. Instead, I'd spec Manoras Fury, so I have a very wide range on Rain of Fire, which means when there's a bunch of people trying to get me, I would have tons of burning embers, and then heal myself for 25% of my health every GCD, plus pop cooldowns, plus teleport behind a wall when I feel like it.
Well, plus have 3 healers. Plus have 3 healers chasing you as well. Exactly. As if that wasn't enough. But I think definitely warlocks will be a fun one. Feral druids will probably be the best flag carrier in the game now. Not mages, I don't think. Not sure. Yeah, I'm going to put my stamp goes on feral druids.
I'm holding out hope for rogue flag carriers as well, just because it's fun. But yeah, I don't know how well it will actually work out in the long run.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hold out for Jedi flag carriers. Wait,
are we playing Hutball?
Yes. All right. There's one other interesting PvP change I want to talk about, but first I want to tell you guys about a great deal we got going on with Audible. I love our sponsor, audible.com. Go over to audible.com/gamebreaker and you can sign up for a free 30-day trial, and you're gonna get a free. Yes, I said free. Did you hear I said free? Audiobook. You're gonna get a free freaking audiobook by using that URL. And I'm bringing up my Audible account right now because right now I'm listening to Exile, which is a Dungeons and Dragons.
Did you finish Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Oh my god.
R.A. Salvatore's Exile.
But worst of all was the monster's gaze. The gaze of a basilisk, which could transmutate into solid stone any living thing it fell upon. This creature, huge and terrible, was among the greatest of its kind. It did not know fear. The hunter watched the basilisk pass, as he had watched it earlier that same day.
Great book. I've been going through the D&D books now, the Dungeons and Dragons books. That's Exile, Legend of Driss, the Dark Elf Trilogy, book number 2, written by R.A. Salvatore, narrated by Victor Bevine. It's another great choice. It's got 4.7 stars. It's awesome. All you got to do is use that URL. If you haven't signed up yet, you just go to the URL, audible.com/gamebreaker, sign up, fill out all the infos, download the app to your iPhone or your iPad or whatever you got. Works on your Xbox or PS3, Android app, all that stuff. Just download it, and you can be listening to audiobooks right after this show. Go check it out today. All right, so the other interesting PvP-orientated change that hit the PTR this week. Healing and PvP power numbers. PvP power!
Yeah.
Yeah. Are getting tweaked, I should say a bunch. So healers will once again receive a full 100% benefit from PvP power to their healing spells. On top of that, hybrids, so like, enchantment, shaman, ret pallies, that kind of thing, are getting a bump to a 70% benefit. And everyone else will actually be getting a 40% bonus. So stuff like rogues, recuperator, warriors, enraged, regen should actually heal for more based on your
PvP power.
To compensate for that, the battle fatigue buff that reduces healing done in arenas and battlegrounds will be going up to 45% from 30%, which is where it is at currently. So this seems as if it is just a shuffling of numbers, correct? Nothing.
Yeah, and it certainly looks like that. It certainly seems like that. I mean, it's to do with the stuff that's going on, the other stuff that's going on in the 5.3. Literally, I think it's just they need to move that slider down so that that slider can move up and nothing explodes and breaks. And the gunship stays intact. And it's all fine.
You had to bring that into it.
A lot of this too,
connected.
I think, is since there's no resilience on PvP gear anymore, like we were talking about just a minute ago, they need to make sure that healers still want to actually equip their PvP gear. And if they're only getting, what was it before, like a 60% benefit or something like that out of PvP power or something like that, then you're kind of looking at going, okay, well, I can get a whole bunch of this stat that sucks, or I can wear like PvE gear and get more healing out of it in the long run. So I think that's partially at least why they're deciding to make this change, is because they're like, okay, we need to actually make sure people still want to equip PvP gear when there's no resilience on it.
And don't forget as well, like, obviously it's great for healers, because I know when we were talking about this before, there was people thinking, oh god, well, healers aren't actually getting very much out of this. So why would we wear it? And it is definitely to do that, but also it's to make so you're a DPS class, your PvP power not only contributes to your damage, but also contributes to your healing. So that's like a sort of double bubble for DPS classes to make sure that they're wearing PvP gear. And it could also be something to do with compensating for PvE gear out in world PvP, where there's not going to be the stat scaling and the item level scaling down. So they want it to be still the best choice for that. So it's just making PvP power more and more and more appealing. And when you do that, you've got to then pull down the battle fatigue, or no one will ever die. Ever.
Maybe gunship is like the central core unit. Maybe it's like deep blue.
Maybe they started building WoW with gunship.
That's what I'm saying. That is the core. Gunship is the
all.
core. So everything is connected. It's like the center brain.
It's the master control program.
It is. That's really, it all makes sense now. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but non-hybrids previously weren't getting any healing benefit at all, right? From Josh Allen,
Correct,
from
PvP power!
So, will this help? I mean, do you think this might help compensate for the tank change? Could this help with the tank changes we were just talking about?
If you're not a warrior, I mean, it'll
warriors
still help.
have like
They have enraged regen, which is a kind of
regen,
OP, but then
pretty
pallies
much,
have,
yeah.
well, pallies are crap flag carriers anyway, so they've got naffle in the world. Of
but maybe now.
Well,
maybe
maybe now if they have like a chain of priests to life grip them across the battleground, that'll work. But yeah, no, maybe now. But I think again, I'm going to say no. I don't think it's going to compensate for the tank changes we were just talking about. It'll certainly help, and it'll make tanks. It'll help with the tanks in PvE gear thing a bit as well, I think. It's more likely to help with that than with the tanks are taking much more damage as flag carriers thing.
Josh, thoughts? All right, so on the PvE side of things, there are some updates this week to heroic scenarios. The rewards have been buffed up substantially. So completing your first heroic scenario on the day of the day now is going to give you 120 Valor points, plus a heroic cachet of treasures, which gives you a chance at a level 516 gear. Josh, you weren't around here when we actually talked about heroic scenarios a couple of weeks ago. So, first of all, what's your take on them? Do you think they're interesting?
It's definitely a bit of a head scratcher. A lot of what they've been talking about in the past couple of weeks is that, well, it's just easier for us to make scenarios and heroic scenarios because we don't need to get the art team in on it. We've already got this area out in the world. We can just say, okay, we're going to take this chunk of the world and make something out of that. Whereas with like a dungeon or something, they do actually need to go through and actually make the dungeon in the process. So I think that's part of it. But it's still, I'm still looking at these and going, I don't know. They don't have that feel to them. Even like if everything's super difficult, they still don't have that feel to them that a dungeon actually has, because there isn't that tank healer DPS dynamic going on. There isn't the control. I guess it's mostly just tanks that are missing. There we go again. No more tanks.
Tanks. No, honestly, this is it. This is the end. It's the end. It's over for tanks.
You're not even able to, they're taking them off
over.
Character creation. They're not even going to be listed anymore. It's done. It's like you can't even.
I mean,
this is how they're implementing tri-spec, by removing an entire spec from the game. It's just like, yeah, you don't need it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very interesting to look at these. They're definitely going to be a lot more interesting to me personally than the normal scenarios, which right now I'm back to not doing them ever again. There was like a couple of weeks where I was doing them to cap Valor, but then it was like, whatever. I'd rather just not cap Valor.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still kind of holding out, reserving final judgment on heroic scenarios just to see where they end up going with them.
I don't know. I think it's weird. They're a weird thing, and I think it's they don't replace dungeons in any way. They definitely don't. And even if they ramp up the rewards so incredibly high, and you need a pre-made group to queue for them, like. Doesn't that completely defeat the object of scenarios, like which are just a sort of, oh, I'll just fill in this time by running scenarios endlessly until I'm Valor capped? You need a pre-made group to run them. And I'm curious.
I do like that it does need a pre-made group though, because it does allow them to make them a lot more difficult, which the challenge is the whole, like the fact that scenarios are so mind-numbingly dull is why I can't bring myself to do them. Because I sit there and I say, okay, I can queue up to I can queue up for a scenario, or I could stare at the wall for the next 20 minutes. This is a tough choice.
I wish you could walk into them solo, because there's so many that I've been into where I'm like, even with my appalling elemental shaman skills and my appalling PvE LE gear, like I could have a good go at soloing this and then bring some friends. And then maybe that's what heroic scenarios is catering to, is that potential.
What do you guys think about the reward benefits on these though? Do you think it's going to actually get people interested enough to run them, even if you don't need the gear? 120 Valor is quite a bit.
That's a ton. That's way more than how much you get for a dungeon? Like 80 for the first and 40 for every subsequent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's 50% on top.
120 Valor for the first one, and it was something like 70 Valor for any of them after that, which if these are things that, they're still only supposed to take you like 20 minutes, like that's a ridiculous amount of Valor for the time invested.
Did you note if that included the bonus Valor that you can get for completing the challenge objectives? Is that with that tied in or not?
I don't believe that includes it. I think that
so
the
you
bonus
get an additional,
is on top of that.
Well, depending, obviously, I last ran them like 2 builds ago on the PTR. So if they're doing that, that's an additional. If it hasn't changed, caveat, that's an additional 90 Valor. So like 210 Valor for your first heroic scenario of the day if you complete the heroic objectives.
Yeah, someone in the chat is now saying it's 150 with the bonus Valor.
Oh, with the bonus. Okay, so they pulled that down to 30. But still, that is a ton of Valor.
What do you think about the eye level of the gear? Hard. And the gear as well. Yeah. I mean, item level 516, I mean, it's better than what you can get on LFR.
Yeah.
If we could run scenarios and not LFR, I've just had a total rethink about scenarios. I now love scenarios. They're now the best content in the game.
Yeah, I was looking through, I didn't go through and check to make sure that there's an entire set, but it sure looks like there's a full set of gear you can actually get out of running these things. Now, if it's anything like the normal scenarios, you'll go in and you'll get tanking gear and healing gear the whole time, and you'll be like, okay, well, I'd really like this for my DPS set, but you won't get it anyway. But if they work around that, then this could actually be a really good way to gear up.
Well, and don't forget that the which we talked about last week, the off-spec loot thing is coming to heroic scenarios. They specifically said heroic scenarios because we were chatting about how it was weird that it wasn't coming in normal scenarios. And so you will be able to stroll into them and gear an off-spec with 516 gear.
Yeah, I mean, they're really buffing this up. I mean, and then to sort of go along with this, they're also putting the heroic cache of treasures as a reward for the daily challenge mode quest. So That means you're actually going to get
fantastic.
upgrades. So you're actually going to get upgrades then also for completing challenge modes, especially if you're not running normal or heroic raids. So that's huge. Challenge
Sure
modes,
is.
and that's kind of weird. Like, this is a big shift, right? Because challenge modes were always supposed to be, weren't they supposed to be just like for the fun, for the challenge of it? I mean, now you're just going to, now it sounds like they're going to be totally worth running for gear.
Yeah,
It's
they
weird as
totally
well.
will be.
Yeah, and it's weird as well because weren't they saying that they had a higher than expected uptake on those? Like they were sort of surprised by how many people were doing them. I think we spoke about this a few weeks back, and it's just like, so my objection to my sort of weird thing about all this, bear with me a sec, is that they were saying, oh, well, we don't want dungeons to come in because we don't want the gearing curve would then be really funky, I think was the term used by our friend Zarheim. And so they're just going to drop 5-on-6 gear into scenarios? They're just going to be like, yeah, here, run a scenario, have some 5-on-6 gear, have fun. So
Well,
what?
here's the big difference with this, and this is what's kind of making me think there's some potential to this change. It's not like with a heroic dungeon, you can run that over and over and over and over and over again. Like the Hour of Twilight dungeons, you could run those ad infinitum until you had all the gear that you needed out of those. You could just keep running them back to back to back to back to back until you had all the gear you needed, and then you were ready to step into Dragon Soul. This is a maximum of 2 chests per day, which only have a chance to give you a piece of gear, and it may not be a piece of gear that you particularly need. So that does automatically, by that factor, scale down the amount of gear you can actually get out of this and the speed at which you can gear up out of it. I don't think we're going to see anybody saying, I'm not going to run LFR, instead I will just run scenarios and challenge modes.
It's going to make you do those two first, though, aren't they?
Well, I mean, technically you can. I mean, you certainly can. But if you're trying to gear up as quickly as possible to get into Throne of Thunder, you're still going to want to run Tier 14 LFR. You're still going to want to step into those and do that because it's extra gear that you will have time, assumedly, outside of running your daily challenge mode and running your daily heroic scenario. You will want to go in there and actually run the Tier 14 LFR still. So this way, since it's gear, but it's a very low curve on the gear, it almost still fits in pretty well and also turns around and adds those rewards in for running challenge modes and actually gives people, in a way, it kind of gives people 5-man content again, because half the dungeons right now people don't even run because they're not available until level 90.
Content, Josh Allen, it's not 5-man content. If you say it's 5-man content again, I will come to America and slap you in the face.
But it is. It's they're 5-mans.
It's not the same. It's not a pug thing. It's not like a 5-man. Oh, yes, there are 5 people in it, but it's not the same as a 5-man heroic. It's different.
It is 5-man content. It is not weird.
Yeah.
The other thing is
5-man content that I want it to be. That's what's going on here. I'm still nerd raging. I'm still in a rage.
Hours, then be geared.
Yeah. This sounds
great for people who are a little bit more casual, though. This sounds perfect for people who don't play super hardcore. I mean, because the other thing you got to remember, also your challenge mode scale your gear to level 463, right? So you don't even actually have to be geared up to complete them. So that's awesome for people who maybe aren't as hardcore. Like most people probably watching this show, it's probably not going to affect so much. Usually, you're right; they're going to keep doing raids. But for people who are a little more cash, this is great.
Yeah, it kind of splits that difference between we're going to, between the 10-man normal mode raiding guild and the guy who only ever does LFR solo. Like this, it actually kind of creates a possibility for 5-man guilds again, where we're just a couple of friends that we like to run 5-mans together, and so we'll just run challenge modes, and that's all we'll do, and we'll get our scenarios, and we'll get our heroic caches. And we'll run the heroic scenarios also, and we can do it that way. I don't know. It seems I like it. I like it a lot, actually. The more I think about it, the more I like it. So
I like it. I like the changes. I sort of harboring this fear that they're going to say, oh well, look, the uptake on the heroic scenarios was so awesome that we're just going to scrap 5-man content. We're done. You guys loved those heroic scenarios. Nothing to do with the gear and the valor we put in them. You must love that content. Oh, love that content, don't you?
For all of you gamers out there, suffering in your 5-man guild for 5-man content, guess what? Game Breaker Nation is coming really damn soon. Don't be with your 5-man content team again. Be Game Breaker Nation. the massive cross gaming guild that will be Gamebreaker Nation. You won't have to run 5-mans anymore. You could run 80-mans. Those are coming next patch. Could you imagine doing like 100-man raid? They should do like one.
Undasta, don't you mean?
Anarchy Online says hello.
Thanks.
Hi.
I missed it.
Because in Anarchy Online, the raids were all outdoors because they didn't have instance technology, right? Well, they did, but they weren't using it for their raids for some reason. So instead, it was just everybody around was killing things.
We already had that in Undasta with the 200-man Undasta pools. The res, the graveyard zerg. All the servers crashed. That was what happened.
The guide to Undasta, week 1. Get as many people as possible so that he doesn't use any of his abilities.
Yeah, just stands there and crashes the server. Done.
All right, one quick reminder before we get into viewer questions. Do not forget BlizzCon tickets. Yes, the first round is going on sale this coming Wednesday, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific. So you've got time to start, doing your F5 exercises. You could just
get that finger going.
Just get that 8 p.m. up. Just keep going and just
organize
F5.
Organize a group with your friends.
Full of computers.
Yes. If you don't have friends, you still got time to make some before BlizzCon tickets go on
You
sale.
Have friends.
I'll try and get the Gamebreaker Nation up to get you friends before BlizzCon
If you don't
tickets.
have friends, get cats.
There
Get
you
cats
go.
or birds and get them to push F5.
They could just press F5. No, seriously.
Just
So
press
this
So you get to
coming
stop when the
Wednesday
thing comes up.
is coming up Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Don't forget. Don't forget. We're all going. A lot of the Gamebreaker people are going. We want to see all you guys there. So hopefully you guys can make it out. Get some tickets. You know they're tough. All right, let's do some viewer questions and get the F out of here. So if you guys have questions for the Gamebreaker crew, the legendary crew, you can send them to submit@gamebreaker.tv. Keep an eye on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/GamebreakerTV. We got to break 30,000. Peeps, seriously? Let's break 30,000 on Facebook. Go over to facebook.com/GamebreakerTV and like it at least. And the Twitter account, Gamebreaker TV as well. Video questions, video questions. If you got a video question, record yourself, post it on YouTube, email us the link at submit@gamebreaker.tv, and we will play it on the show. So, who do we got this week? Let's see. First up, this one in from Daniel Beach. Daniel asks, he says, do you think the next expansion will have both a new race and a new class like MOP did? Josh Allen. Danielson, what do you think?
I don't know, really. I think there's a possibility of both a new race and a new class. I think it's probably more likely that we'll only see one or the other, though. That's just my hunch. Based on
why? Based on what? Where's that coming from?
Based on the theory that we're going to have a Burning Legion themed expansion next patch, which doesn't have an extreme in for a new race, but it does have lots of options for new classes. So that's I'm gonna just make that's my, and this is completely out of conjecture, but that's my guess right now is new race next expansion, or excuse me, new class next expansion, no new race.
Are you on this whole thing about like how they're gonna like possibly merge the Horde and the Alliance together at some point?
No.
You're not on that train?
No. Possible third faction.
Third?
Very unlikely.
Olivia, what do you think? New race, new class?
I would in agreement with Josh on this one. I can definitely see a new class coming in. Not so much a new race. There's just, even I have enough knowledge about this game's lore to assert that it's quite likely that there's going to be this Burning Legion thing going on in the next expansion. And for me, that's kind of surprising. I would not be surprised at all if neither of those two came to pass. I don't know. That may be. I've said that and I thought about it. I've said that as I was saying it. I was thinking about it, thinking actually no, because then they would miss one draw for people to actually buy the new expansion beyond getting up.
Well, and coming off of Mr. Pandaria, where they were like, "Oh, Pandaria's got everything: new race, new class, new continent, all these new features and everything," and then they come out with the new expansion. Oh, it's just some more raids and stuff. Yeah,
true. Yeah, so no, I said that I now would like to retract that. Vaxies, please. So yeah, no, I don't think it'll be both. I don't know. I just like it's 11. We've got 11 classes now, and they're always having trouble with it. I don't know. Do we really need more classes? Maybe they could take a class away And which class? Let's
They'll
just
just
take
finally get around to deleting rogues.
Yes, rogues, or maybe Death Knights will suddenly just go.
They'll take
gone.
Just
they'll
get rid of a
take
whole
all
race.
the tanking classes.
Just get rid of the Draenei.
Yeah.
Just
They'll
Which is the
take all the
tankiest
tanking
tank?
classes. Well, no. This is what they'll do. They'll take.
They'll
Excuse me,
tank
they'll
all the
take all the.
tanking.
Yes, they'll take all the tanking classes, remove the tanking tree, take all of the trees that are left, and just sort of fit them
Ooh.
around together.
And they'll just mush those.
They'll take warriors and they'll put like fury with paladins and arms with death knights or something, and they'll be like, "There you go, done."
We rearrange talents, and good
Also
luck.
classes.
You're now a retribution priest. Good luck. Enjoy.
All right, next up from Alex Johnson. Alex asks, he says, when, if at any point, do you think PvP has ever been truly balanced? Hard freaking question. Alex, man, he's going deep. He's pro. Look at him. I don't know. Liv, what do you think?
No.
Okay, good answer. Safe answer.
Safe answer. I don't think so. I mean, I think that if I was to now sort of say, I think so, and I would like to assert this point in the game, a million people will say, no, you're wrong. Did you play this spec at that point? It was ridiculous. This was overpowered. This was underpowered. Because PvP is, we love to complain. It's kind of, when we're not killing people, we're complaining. And it's what we do. So no, I mean, I think, you know, to me, like, I think balance was really good. Sort of, I never remember the season numbers. I'm just horrible with this. The first season of Kata was kind of okay after they fixed some stuff up. This Mist season, that time is not now. Let's say that.
There's an answer. Josh, what do you
Yeah.
think? Was there ever a point that you would say it was?
As a destruction warlock, then yes, and it's right now, completely and totally balanced.
Completely
No.
balanced. You were even more balanced earlier on this expansion before they nerfed Chaos Bolt. You were really, really balanced then.
It's definitely, I really feel like they need to buff warlocks some more, but other than that, things are really balanced. No, I actually think I would agree that it's never been truly balanced. Like nothing, and hitting a perfect balance is going to be impossible in a game like this, but it certainly hasn't ever been. I would say it's never been good enough in World of Warcraft. It's never been to the point where I'd say, oh yeah, it was good enough to function. Now, there's always been outliers.
An issue, another issue. Yeah. I mean, it was good at early Kata, and then they brought in the legendary weapons, and it was just like, oh, for God's sake. And then they brought in some more legendary weapons, it was, oh, for God's sake, again.
Yeah. I think if you were to ignore the legendary weapons, then the later bits of Cataclysm, it was pretty good.
If you pull out
the legendaries just ruined everything. So.
Yeah, they did. And it's like all of the sort of complaints in the invitationals towards the very end of Cataclysm were people talking about the legendary weapons and saying that actually if we didn't have those, this would be really, really balanced. And I mean, look at the Go Brain Go Skill Cap versus OMG final, as that was a really, really, really good. Watching that, you could feel that it was like relatively balanced. But I mean, it also kind of gets into the question of what is balanced. Like, this is a way bigger question than we have time for in the viewer questions section of Legendary. But is balanced, like, you know, where do they even go with that? It's like there's a few specs that work, all the other stuff's rubbish, or is it every spec is amazing at PvP and they're equally amazing and nobody's special? And it's just like
the best thing they can do for balance is just delete tanks.
There you go.
Yeah, well,
that's already
so
been proven.
far, so
That's happening. They're definitely on a good track for that, so we're fine then. All right, no problem.
Legendary called it. When you hear the news.
Last up this week from Kenny Jarvis. Kenny says, do you think Outlands should be brought back to being a new edge to old content?
Like a Blade's Edge?
Oh, God.
Sorry.
That is terrible. That's just awful. I'm sorry. We can't be friends anymore. It's just, oh my God. But ignoring Josh Allen for a second, I think that would be pretty cool, because Outlands is in dire need of a revamp. That place is just, it's so frustrating. If you try, no one quests through there. Does anyone quest through there? Do you quest through there?
No, I just do
in
dungeons.
Outland.
And I don't even like the
That's
dungeons that much
exactly
anymore.
what everyone does. Everyone just spams dungeons until they're done with it. Like, you get into Hellfire Peninsula and you're just like, that's not this, I'm getting a dungeon queue. Because everyone else is doing it. It's fine, they're really fast. And you get to Northrend, you're like, what? I have to do what? I have to what now? People are what? Yeah, they would be fantastic if they revamped it, like did a Cata-style revamp. And because the Burning Legion are coming back, maybe they will. Maybe it'll be an Outland thing.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, do it. Sounds good.
Josh Allen, aka Lore. Follow him on the Twitters at Devolore, DEVOLORE. Go over to tankspot.com. Watch the weekly Mara PST. Just a tip. I can't keep up with them all. There's so many. There's so many shows. Follow him on Twitter.
I can't keep up with them either. Don't worry.
Obviously. Olivia D. Grace, contributing editor right here on GameBreaker.tv. Come on over to the site every day and read her World of Warcraft coverage. Follow her on Twitter at Olivia D. Grace. And you can follow me at Gary Gannon. Follow GameBreaker TV at GameBreaker TV. And what else we got going on? GameBreaker Nation is coming. That's the big thing we got coming. I just posted up a forum post in our forums. If you want to go over there, go to the general discussion. I'm going to be keeping you peeps updated on the progress of the GameBreaker Nation in the forum. So go on over and check it all out. We do the show live every single Thursday at 8 PDT. Come on over. It's a lot of fun. Thank you all for watching. Have a great weekend. And practice your APM spam F5 for Wednesday for this content. Have a great week. Thanks.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
You guys plan that?
What? No.